Alright guys, this is the fifth video in this series for HTML and CSS. I already did this video and I deleted it, so I guess we're going to do it again. You guys would never actually see the other video, you wouldn't know anything about it if I didn't say anything, but I thought it was funny. Okay, what we are going to do, we styled our body, if you remember correctly. We styled it, we gave it a black or white background, a black border, and everything. And oops, this was something that we did in the last video. So there we go. This is what it should look like in your browser right now. Well, we did it in this video that I deleted, so we're gonna have to go backwards a little bit. And okay. So what we're gonna do is real quick. We're gonna do a review because I confuse myself sometimes. I don't want to confuse you guys. I want to make sure you know what you're talking about or know what I'm talking about. So let's go and do that. We have our doc type, and our doc type is HTML, and it's really like the doc type is basically just the type of document. That's a stretch, right? But it's HTML, and this is HTML5's way of telling the browser what kind of document it is. It's HTML, and before that, it was like 2 lines long, and it was really just kind of an ugly thing. I didn't like it. So this is a lot better. It's really quick, and you just type that in, and boom, you're good to go. That tells the browser what kind of document it is. Now, this one, obviously, as you can see here from the comments, if you didn't watch the first couple of videos, you probably should, because it'll show you how to make comments for yourself to show you where everything is. And this was my example, and it's a good that it's there because it lets us know that this is where the beginning of the HTML document is, and this tag HTML tells the browser where the beginning of the HTML document is. Okay, and then we have our head, and our head is, excuse me, our head contains information for the browser, for the visitors' browsers, for the internet. You can put things like meta tags that for keywords for search engines and all kinds. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that goes on in here. Nothing is actually viewable by visitors except for maybe the title. And if you watch the other videos, you know that this is where the title is right there. It goes in your tab, and you can change that. And I put /home, and you don't even have to put the name of your website. You can put anything you want as long as it fits within this preset text width. It'll show, because if not, it'll cut off right there. And you can put a slogan or something, whatever you want. Just keep it clean if you can. So that's our title, and then if we did the link to our style sheet, and that was a link, and then a rel, which kind of I guess stands for relative or relating, basically what the link is, and that's the style sheet. All right, and then we have our actual link, our actual style sheet reference, and that tells the browser where to find the style sheet. And I named mine style. And you can name it whatever you want. You just got to have the .css because that is the format for a CSS document. And if without that, it's not gonna. It'll know it's a style sheet, but whenever it opens it and looks at it, it'll be like, this isn't a style sheet. This is something else. So you got to have .css. Not to mention, if you're using Notepad++ like you should be, none of this will look right if you don't name it .css. It'll either be black text, or depending on what code type you put, it won't look right. And you want to have these colors to let you know. I mean, this is a command. This is what we want out of the command, and stuff like that. And I'll be right back. Okay, sorry about that. So yeah, you want to make sure you have the correct. And another thing, when you're linking to your files within your website, you want to make sure that you have the correct capitalization. Me personally, I just use lowercase. I don't use capitalization because that way I automatically know no matter what the name of the file is, it's going to be lowercase, and you don't have to worry about it. Because let's say this S is capitalized, it's not going to find the file. It's going to assume that the S is capitalized. And you can see right here up at the top, it's named style.css, and that is lowercase, and that's why. Now, if they're both uppercase, that'll work as long as they match. One second. Alright, sorry about that. I'm working a night shift right now. It's usually pretty quiet, but sometimes I gotta do stuff. So, I'm back. Where are we at? Okay, so we went over the link and we went over the title, and there's another thing that's called a favicon, and I've mentioned it before. It's like a little picture type thing. Your logo can go right there on that where that sheet is, and we're gonna add one of those a little later. And again, there's like meta tags and stuff that we'll go over a little further down the line, but we're trying to keep it as simple as possible right now. And also, what I did, and whenever I was doing this video the first time, was I went through and I put spaces between all these, and I explained that white space does not matter to an HTML document. It doesn't recognize it, so it's not going to just because you put a space between your header and your nav bar doesn't mean that in your website there's going to be a space between your header and your nav bar. It doesn't work that way. Basically, it's a good thing because it allows you to separate things, because when everything's all bunched together, it's hard to see what you're looking at. But this way you can tell, okay, there's my header, there's the closer, and those are all together. But then there's a space, so it's like, okay, so there's my nav bar and all that. And it just makes it a lot easier to navigate through your code, so you know what you're looking at. Now what we're gonna do is we're going to go over IDs and classes. And these, I don't know, I wanted to say these till later, but as far as styling and stuff, you gotta do it to get things styled correctly. Another thing that I mentioned was okay, this is a header. This is your main header though, right? And that goes up here. And I know it's a little bigger now, and I can't remember exactly what I did that made it that big, because I don't believe it was that big before. But I did something to do that. But this is under the same class as your welcome. Remember on the article when we put a header, it said welcome, and then we put another header right there, it says update, and I'll show you right here. See that's header, and this is a header, and it's the same exact tags, right? So if we go into our style.css document and we use header, and again, CSS recognizes a lot of the new HTML5 tags. So it recognizes body, it recognizes header, it recognizes section, it recognizes article. So you don't need to have a class or ID marker in front of them to signify that that's what you're working on. And again, we're about to go over that, so you'll understand what I mean by that in a second. But so yeah, you can just put header, you can put section, you can put aside, and then use your open and closes, and then whatever you put in there, it should affect it. Now, again, I'm trying to show you the connection between all of our headers right now. So what I'm going to do is just simply do font size of, let's say, 20 pixels, right? Okay, and then we save that. Now watch what happens. Okay, that got bigger, and again, I'm not sure. I'm going to have to figure out what I did there, because I shouldn't be that big, and it's bold and everything. But if you notice, these went up too, and that did get bigger. And that got bigger, and that got bigger. But all we did was one thing. We just did header and font size, and it affected all three headers. So what we need to do is we have to classify them. We have to make them different. And okay. So here's what we did. And again, this is my fault, because I deleted this video already, and so I did a couple things, and I tried to take them all out. What I did was I put heading 1, and heading and header are two different things. Heading is, okay, the header is a section. It is just the yellow part. Basically, well, okay, here's what we can do. Just for the sake of showing you, I'm going to add a margin of 10 pixels. Refresh. Okay, there we go. Yeah, and don't worry about all this down here. Your header is this section. It is the yellow. All right. Now your heading is the text in there. It's whatever you put. It can be a picture. It can be text. It's just whatever. It's your content, and you can wrap it up in those tags. And to signify a heading tag, you would use the H, and it's 1 through 6, 1 being the biggest, 6 being the smallest. And I said it before in the video I deleted, that when it comes to CSS, heading tags is another thing that CSS recognizes from HTML5. And so you would just need to type heading 1, that, and then even though they have a preset text size, you can actually go in and you can change the font size, and make sure you put a dash between whatever two words. See, background color dash, font size color dash, and then that's not. Oh, it's because I didn't put curly brackets. I put parentheses. Okay. Yeah, and then you can change the font size to whatever you want. So really what I do is I used H1 through 6 as markers for my different headings, because on my sample website you can see that and this was heading 1, and again I changed it to a picture, and I probably should note this wasn't a good example for this website for these tutorials, but it's basically going to be the same size as it would have been. I just added, the background and the shadowing and everything through Inkscape, which is another thing I'm going to have tutorials on very shortly. So this would be heading 1, and you see how it's big. And then I think I used heading 2 for my my article headings, and as you notice, they're the same, but I only used heading 2 in the CSS once, and I styled it one way, just like I did a second ago, and it did this. It styled them both the same way. And just like the same way here, this was like heading 6, I believe, because I had a bunch of other headings, but I took them out, and so they're the same. And so yeah, you can use the H1 through 6 to mark your headings, but we're not going to do that right now. No, I'm not. So I'm going to take these off and see if this fixes my little text problem. Yeah, see. Okay, now granted that is 20 pixels, that is 20 pixels, and that is 20 pixels, because we marked all the headings to be the same. So, or the headers. So let's go ahead and take that out real quick. And what we are going to do now is we're going to go over IDs and we're going to go over classes. And let's go ahead and go over divs. Let's give us some spaces and open. And again, when it comes to HTML and CSS, there's just so much to remember, so much to go over, and I kind of cheat a little bit because I don't want to say I do the same exact thing over and over again, but I do reference my older work a lot to just to get get things right. And you might want to do that too. Like, let's say you're just making this website, you're not planning on using it, but you're trying to learn, right? Well, you can save this website, and then whenever you're ready to build your own website, you'll at least have a reference. As long as you try to remember what you're looking at, you'll have a reference to. This is really hard. You will have a reference to. Well, sorry guys, 1 second. You'll have a reference, so that if you don't remember something or you don't remember how something goes, you can just open up this this file and you'll look at it. Because what I'm actually looking at right now is this div, and I use the big wrapper as the name for it, and I'm gonna talk to you about that. But what I wanted to remember was whether or not it goes on the inside or the outside. Okay, so div is a divider, basically. It says this whatever's in between my div tag is a section in itself. It might have sections within it, like for instance, we are going to put div, and since we've already looked at it that way, let's go ahead and just use big wrapper. And the reason why it makes sense, because one, it's a wrapper. It's wrapping over everything within your body, all of that, down to the footer. And we always close our div tags, so it's going to wrap over the entire, and it's big because of that, the whole website basically. So it's a big wrapper, and so we're basically just putting another section within the body, and there's a reason for that, and we'll show we'll go over that here in a little while. But what I want you to look at right now is the ID. Because we don't even need this div at the moment, not until we get into actually positioning things, because we're going to be doing flexboxing, which is it's pretty strenuous, so I want to make sure everybody kind of has a grasp on HTML and CSS before we actually get to that point. But I put this in for a reason, and it's because, for one, to show you that you can, this div is basically like a header, like a nav. It's an classified box. Whereas header is now, according to HTML5, is a box, but it's classified as a header, and nav is a box, but it's classified as a nav or a menu bar. And same with a side and a section. Div is like just your random box. It's still a box, but it doesn't have a name, and you can use it for just about anything. You can replace header with div if you just so choose to do. I figure why, you know. Okay, so we have our div. Now here's the thing: we have an ID on this div. An ID is a name for it, and our name is Big Wrapper. So you would put ID, you would put an equal sign, and you would put the name that you choose. And it doesn't have to be Big Wrapper; it can be anything you want. And as we go down here, we're going to be doing this quite a bit here in a second. You can choose whatever name you want. You don't have to use the name I use, because whenever you go into your style CSS to reference that, all you're going to do is use the name you choose, and it's going to work. So that's an ID. Now here's the difference between, let's see here. Let's do articles real quick. And the reason for that is because there's two different kinds of, I guess, identifiers for when it comes to IDs and classes, and those are the two. I'm kind of getting my words mixed up here. So an ID, there's ID and there's class equals, and let's say section articles. Now, I mean, you might be wondering, like, what's the difference? Because they look exactly the same. They seem to do the exact same thing. You have to name them and everything. But here's the deal: IDs are the name for one thing, whereas a class is the name for a class of things. So we have our section right here. There's the beginning. There's the end, right? And in that section, we have two articles. Well, I'm not going to name one of them. I mean, and again, you can, but for this, I'm not going to name either one of them just one name, because I want them both to be affected in the same way. You can't do this with IDs, but with classes, because it's a class, meaning there's like multiples of the same, same area that you want to affect. You would just put class section ID or section article in whatever you want to affect the same way you want to affect that first article, and you don't even have to not that you would want to. Again, I spelled things wrong. Not that you would ever want to. You could use class equals section article under your footer, and it would affect the footer in the same way it affects your articles. Whereas because I have the ID, there we go. Because I have that ID Big Wrapper, I can't use ID Big Wrapper on header. It won't work that way. That's just for a single tag, whereas the class is for any multiple tags that you would like to have affected in the same way. And this is good because, I mean, you can use class equals Big Wrapper and never use that again, and that's okay. But I mean, I don't know. You want to make sure to keep everything just kind of copacetic, so like this is our main header. So because we're only going to have one main header, let's just go ahead and do ID, and I'm going to call it the main header. So that header is now its own thing. It's a main header. So again, if I go into CSS and I use the header option and I start putting in commands, it's going to affect all of these headers the same as it did before. And that is why we put IDs and we put classes on them, so that we can affect things differently. So we can use main header on our CSS, and it's only going to affect our main header, and that's how that works. And so let's go ahead and go through, and I'm going to do the same thing for all of our main sections. And real quick, you guys can do that again, and at the same time, or I should say once again, you can name it whatever you want. However, you want to make sure to name it something. You don't want to name it bananas if you're going to name. Well, I don't know. I mean, if you want to name every section a different fruit, and you can remember what fruit's what, well, then go for it. But you just want to make sure you remember what is what. It's just going to make it 100 times easier because you're not going to have to go back and reference your HTML to go to your CSS and style and figure out where you need to change something. You can just go to your CSS and change something because you know what the title of it is based off just common sense titling. Now we've reached our first sidebar, and this is our left sidebar, and so we're going to give it an ID. But we are going to give this one, because it's our left sidebar, we're going to give it, oh, no capitals for me, left side. And obviously, I mean, you can tell the reason for that is because it's going to be the left, it's going to be a sidebar, and I don't think we need to give it a name that comes out to here, just to explain that. We just put left and side, and now we know this is our left side. Okay, so let's do our main section. And then we're on our right side. Also, I do want to point out, you don't need any sidebars, let alone two. It's a personal choice, but I'm trying to show that it's possible, And I want to give you guys as many options as you can, because until you actually understand exactly what HTML can do, you'll never know what it can do. So I'm trying to show you that you do have this as an option. To give it two sidebars, and so I figure why not just show you in case you want them, because some websites have them, and then I've seen websites that don't have any. I've seen some that have one sidebar that's as big as the section, like it's half and half. It's really just however you want to do it, because there's no written in stone rules to designing a website. However, there are things that are like yays and nays. I don't know, like things that you should and shouldn't do on a website, but they're more like a code of ethics as opposed to like stuff you just absolutely cannot do. You can still do it, but it's frowned upon. Like using Comic Sans, which I like, by the way. But apparently, using that is a big faux pas on the internet or anywhere in the design world, because it's kind of a quirky. I'm not going to get into it. So yeah, and then our last thing is our footer. Main footer. See how I'll get off on a tangent. It's probably why these videos are so long. It's because I just like to talk. So we've got all of our stuff labeled. So here's what we're gonna do now. What we can do is, oh, that's right. We've got all of our main sections labeled, and because there's only gonna be one main header, we just put an ID. Because there's only gonna be one navigation bar, we put ID. Just like because there's only one left sidebar. Now there's two sidebars, but there's only one left sidebar. So we put that as an ID. Same with the main section. Same with the right section and the main footer. Right. So now let's go ahead and go through here and add our. Oh, we already did that. Okay. We put both articles as a class, and we can do our paragraphs the same way. So let's do class, because again, we're gonna I personally want all of the paragraphs in my main section articles to be effective the same way. So I'm going to do that. So what I'm going to do is put section paragraphs. And you might be asking, why didn't I put article paragraphs? And the reason for that is because I might use an article in one of my sidebars. I don't want it to be necessarily, now I might get to that point and realize I do want it to be effective the same way, but at the moment I'm not entirely certain where I'm going with my sidebar, so I don't want it to be effective that way. So I don't want to if I do put an article over here, I would name that something like class left paragraphs or something like that. Just because it's a different part of the website, it might be affected differently, so we're just going to keep it that way. And that is kind of long. Let's just name it para. Is that better? It's a lot to type, but instead of typing it anyways, I'm just going to copy and paste. That's okay. You guys can do the same thing. Oh no. That's what. See what happened there? They were touching and it turned into something that wasn't recognizable. And that'll happen. Okay, so keep this thing informed. There we go. And just to kind of show you the difference between the two, because I know both of these paragraphs are in different articles, so they're not really like together anyways. I'm going to go ahead and copy and paste another paragraph right there. I know it says the same thing, but I don't want to change it right now. We're busy. We got stuff to do. So we'll keep that. But let's save this real quick, and then go to our website. And okay, so you see how it added the other paragraph. It's got a footer right there. But nothing else has really changed. I know that happened, but I think that's because I took the heading out of the CSS. That's exactly what happened. I remember because we were playing with the heading down here, and I took it out. So that's the only reason why that happened. I probably should have refreshed that the first time, because I will really just want to show you that other than this paragraph being added, nothing else changed. And the reason for that is because we didn't really do anything except for identify our sections. Okay. So now we're going to go into our CSS, and if you remember, we named we used some IDs, we used a couple classes and everything. So let's find out how to do that in CSS. Simply, like, remember how I said that CSS recognizes body as a tag, and it recognizes your headings as a tag. And I'm going to take that out because we're not using that right now. It doesn't recognize your names. It doesn't. If you typed left side on here, it's not. You can't just go left_side, and it might look like it's recognizing it, but if you put some kind of command or something in there, it's not going to affect anything because it doesn't know what a left side is. Like it knows what a body is. So, but you did name your stuff, and we're going to work on the header right now. We named the header main header, and it's an ID. So what you do is you put hashtag. Hashtag is what you start your ID names out with, and main header. Now, before we go any further, the hashtag is your ID. So it's ID main header. So the web browser goes, oh well, there's an ID named main header, and it needs a font size of blah 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 blah. And so it goes into your HTML and it looks for, oh, found it, there's the ID, and it's called main header, so this must be what we're affecting. Whereas you have a class. Class is just period, and what did we name that? Section para, right? Section articles, let's do that one. Section _articles. You notice how they're different colors in Notepad++, and that's just another thing that it does. It's recognized tags, it's recognized sections are in like just a regular blue. This one's more of like an aqua, because it's an ID, and then your classes are red, and it doesn't really have any significance between each other. It's just how it does it. So it's just another way of keeping track. You can keep all of your you can keep all of your classes together in one area. You can keep all of your IDs in another area, because it doesn't matter. I can put the body. Let's say we have like 300 different sections that we style. I can put the body all the way down to the bottom. It's not going to change anything except for that it reads it from top to bottom. So let's say like right here I have the body's background color white, right? And then way down at the bottom I have it a different color somehow. Well, it's going to read that and put it white first, but then it reads it in like a split second. So even though I put it white first and down at the bottom I have it as yellow, it's going to end up being yellow because in that split second it read it and put it white, but then it changed it to yellow because that was what was the last thing added on the style sheet. So that's really the only thing with ordering. Other than that, you can put anything anywhere, and it's going to affect it the way you want it to. As long as there's nothing else below that changing it to something else, then you're good. Okay, so we have I only put this class right here to show you the difference between IDs and classes. So for right now, let's just work on the main header. And to do that, first let's give it a margin. And one thing I went over that was on the video I deleted was that margins have like 4. You can put up to 4 numbers in there, pixel-wise. So let's say I want to do like 10 pixels. And this is going to be your top. The first number is always your top. And then we can put 20 pixels, and this one's going to be your left because it goes top left, and then, I don't know, 15, I want to make it noticeable, but I guess it's not going to be, 15 pixels for your bottom because it goes top left bottom, and then another 10 pixels for your right. And that's the order it goes in. And let's save that real quick and let's see what it does. Didn't do much, did it? Okay, so I'm going to make sure. Oh, yeah. Main header ID. Main header. So, I mean, that's right, but for now, and like I said, you can put 4 different types, and each one affects a different site. Or you can put 2, and then like the first one, let's say 20 pixels, that's going to affect your top and your bottom, and then the 10 pixels, it's going to affect your left and your right. And that's just, that's the way. Or you can just do 1 and 20 pixels in that, like we did up here. That says 0 pixels all the way around. Now we can go and we can put 10 pixels in there. It's going to say 10 pixels left and right, 0 pixels top and bottom. I want to keep it at 0 pixels all the way around. And I want to put this one at 20 pixels at the top and bottom. And, yeah, and then, I don't know. You don't need that comma there. 10 pixels on the sides. Okay, and then let's put a padding. And again, the padding is on the inside of the box that keeps the content a certain width away from the border. And in this case, it would be the title of our website. And so let's put it like, I don't know, let's do 10 pixels like that. Okay, now to really see what we've changed here, let's do a font size for one. No. Yeah, let's do that. I was going to make it a little more complicated, but I figured why. So font size, we'll make it 32 pixels. How about that? Sound good? So we've got our font size, and then well, let's save it real quick, and so you can kind of see a little bit of a difference. Okay, you see what happened there? One, that dropped down about 20 pixels. Granted, if you remember the body, we gave it a 10 pixel padding, so it's going to add that 20 pixels from the header to the top also. So you've actually got 30 pixels of margin and padding right here. 10 of it comes from the body's padding, 20 of it comes from the header, the header's margins. And the size of the text got bigger. It went up to 32 pixels, and then the padding got bigger also, or maybe smaller. I can't remember, but it's at 10 pixels between them, the border and the actual text. I'm going to take that 10 pixels out and see what that does. That didn't do much, so let's go ahead and leave it like that. That's fine. We've got our padding, we've got our font size. Let's add a font color. Now let's actually add a background color so that we know what we're talking about here. See, when you add a background color, and I don't know, let's make it purple. Okay, so we've added a background color, and if you noticed, you had to put background / color or dash color. I don't know. And then you add the color, and there's probably like 4 or 5, maybe 6 color names that you can use. Whereas there's I don't know. I said thousands and thousands, but that's not really true. I think there's maybe close to 600-700 hexadecimal colors that you can use, and they're represented by numbers and letters. And we'll go over that a little later. But for now, just to simplify things, we're going to use names. Okay, so let's save that real quick and see what that does. See, it changed to purple. Now it's in a big wrapper that we put that div. So even though it's that big, or it's purple, it's still inside of a wrapper that is yellow. So there's space here, and I should have changed this before, but it's okay because we're gonna change all these colors and then you'll really see it. It's yellow on the background of all of these boxes, including the big wrapper. So the header is inside of the big wrapper, just as long as you understand that. Because if you remember, we put it around the entire website, but inside the body, and that's why the body is still white. So let's add a color for the text. Now notice here that I didn't have to put font color or text color or words color. I only had to put color, and that's because that's the name for it. It assumes when you're talking about the color, you're talking about the text. If you need to add a background, you add a background, and that's what I wanted to show you. And we're going to do green for this just because it might stand out. I know the color scheme is awful right now, and that's okay because really I'm just trying to show you the differences. But we'll work on that a little later. I'll show you some cool websites that have like color palettes and stuff that you can pick from, and really make your website stick together. And that looks awful, absolutely awful. You can't even see it. Let me show you a hex color. Okay, one of the simplest hex colors there are is like 00000, and a hex is 6. So obviously there's gonna be 6 colors. Or 6 numbers, or number letter combination, really. But because they're all the same, you can actually only use 3, as long as all the numbers are the same, and you'll get the same output. However, 0 is black, F is white, so 0 through 9 gets you to white. And I want to use more of a lighter gray, so I'm going to go with 7. Oop, 7 sevens, it needs to be 6. But again, you only really need 3. As long as they're the same number / letter. And I just changed the background to that's not quite light enough. Sorry, I'm not great with colors, as you can tell. So let's try 9 because it's like the closest you can get to white without it being white. And we'll change that to purple. Again, we're not really getting into the colors of things yet. I just want to make sure everything's kind of noticeable. Okay, you see how that lightened up, and that's purple now. It's exactly what I was going for, so that's perfect. Now we are going to first take some of the space out. It's okay if you leave it there, but you know it's kind of an eyesore to me, so I don't want to leave it there. So let's do our nav, and if you remember, for one, it's an ID. So you're going to use a hashtag, and then I named mine main nav. So that's how we do that. You know what I'm saying? Okay. Margins. How do you spell it? Okay. Margin. Let's do 20 pixels just for fun. Padding. Yeah, we want some padding. Let's do another 10 pixels. I don't know. Font size. See, okay, this is what I was talking about in the last video when I was talking about how you can add multiple things. You can do the font, and you can name it like you can do it like I don't know, 20 pixels, and you can put it. I believe like you can do like bold, and you can put the name like sans serif. But I don't know if that's 2 F's or not. But I don't do that very often, just because I don't know. I style everything so differently that it doesn't really do anything for me. But like I use the same font, and I'm going to go over fonts here pretty soon, so we're going to put it in the main area. But yeah, so yeah, I mean you can do it. You just play with it if you want. However, I'm going to just change the font size to 18. Oops. See, that's another one of those things that you can miss. And you do put pixels. And we've got the margin, we've got the padding, we've got the font size, and we can do a background color of, I don't know. Well, let's actually just let's go 9 again. And font color. See, I didn't even follow my own rule here. Okay, you just put color, and that'll do that for you. And we'll just change that to purple also. Bam. Now, you notice anything? You might notice that even though we did the same exact thing on the header, that and it turned completely solid light gray with the purple words, it didn't do that on here. Now, there's a good reason for that, and that's because that, again, HTML recognizes a lot of things as boxes, as sections of the website, and it layers those sections on top of each other if it needs to. Now, even though we have our main navigation section, we also have, and it changed the color of everything because all the text is in there, but we've also got a box inside of that, and that's our unordered list. Now, to access that to where we can style it, we just need to do that. We put the ID, put the main underscore nav, right? And so that says, hey, we are trying to style the main navigation. However, we've already done that, right? And it didn't exactly work the way we wanted it to. So we need to actually go a step further. Now, if you look and you look at the main navigation section, which is this, it's got the ID main nav. There's only one thing in here, and that's our unordered list with our list items. And the unordered list itself counts as a section. It's just like a paragraph. It's just like the header or something. It is itself. So to access that, and you can do this the same way with any kind of tag within a tag within a tag within a tag. What you can do is just type the name of the tag, UL. So now it's saying we want to style the main nav, but we actually want to style the unordered list inside of the main nav. So that way we have it the way we want it. And again, you can add your margins and your paddings, and I don't think I want to do that. What I'm just going to do for right now is change the background color. Let's change it to like maybe like a darker. Well, I don't want to. Let's do this. And again, I'm just kind of, I guess, OCD about this stuff. And also, you want to have a hashtag in front of your decimal or your hexadecimal numbers because it signifies it. Without it, it won't recognize it. So I made the main nav a darker gray because again 0 through 9 is it goes from black to almost white, 9 being this color. Now, I think you can get a little lighter than that, but other than that, I mean, it's just trying to get you a white basically. And so, and I use the dark on the outside because we have purple lettering, and I'm going to use the lighter one on the inside, but I want to make sure that you see the difference. No, oh, that didn't work. What did I do wrong? See, it's all about problems. Well, that's embarrassing. I'm trying to show you guys stuff I don't even know. I'm going to go ahead and put an ID on here. And nav UL. Okay, and that basically should do it. So we put a hashtag for ID, and we put nav underscore UL, and then we can do this. I lost track of that. Okay, there we go, and this should work. Huh? Oh, it didn't. Huh. Oh. I'm sorry, guys. I know. I'm probably confusing the crap out of you right now. But we're going to go back to doing it the way we did it the first time. Only difference is, and something I've forgotten, again, like I said, I mean, there's so much to remember that it's hard to, like, and this is basic HTML, and I shouldn't be messing up like this, but for one, I've had a long day. Two, there's a lot. There's just so much, and it's hard to, like, remember everything. So the thing is, this is an unordered list, and well, before I put my foot in my mouth, Okay, perfect. This is an unordered list, but you don't see the unordered list. It's basically just saying that from here to here is an unordered list. Now, there's times where we actually have to put a command towards the unordered list itself, and that's when we're doing drop-down menus, especially because this itself, like the nav bar right here, is an unordered list. Now, whenever you hover over it, it pulls up another unordered list. All of these are list items, just like all of these are list items. And again, whenever you drop down from a drop down, that is an unordered list, and these are list items. So the unordered list isn't visible. However, it's still a thing. And I want to call it an entity, but I don't want you guys to get confused with things like that copyright sign. But so it's still its own thing. However, it's just containing list items. So whenever we do this drop down, we're going to have to style it in a way that gets it to go under the, and I don't want to get into that. However, when it comes to like the colors and stuff, you just reference the UL, which is an ordered list, and then you have to reference the list items, LI. And so that's what it'll do. And I totally forgot about that. I think I'm getting Alzheimer's. So we have our background color on that changed. And the risk of looking like a dum-dum, I'm going to show you guys exactly what you can do if you get confused. You can go to Google, which Google Chrome, another reason why I like it is you can just search directly from the address bar. Okay guys, I'm making a train wreck out of things. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to stop right here, and we're going to start a new video after I get my thoughts together. And we'll get back on track. But just remember a couple of things. One, margins and paddings. The big wrapper we haven't done yet, so there's no margin right there. But the rest of them we have, so I'm going to get back with you guys.